In this podcast episode, Scott Payne, a retired FBI undercover agent, shares insights from his over 2 decades of infiltrating dangerous criminal organizations, including drug traffickers, outlaw motorcycle clubs, human traffickers, white supremacists, and violent extremist groups. He delves into the grueling realities of undercover work, the psychological and emotional toll it takes, personal experiences with some of the most shocking cases he encountered, and offers his perspective on current and evolving threats in domestic terrorism. Throughout the conversation, Payne also reflects on his upbringing, motivations for joining law enforcement, and his journey through some of the darkest corners of crime. Scott Payne grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, where he was deeply influenced by his hardworking father, who owned a successful landscaping company, and his book-smart mother. Raised in a Christian home, with experiences in church music and sports, he quickly developed a strong work ethic from being around determined men on his dad's job sites. His rebellious streak showed early, especially transitioning from Christian schooling to public school, encountering peer pressure and youthful misadventures that set the stage for his complex character. During his teenage years, Payne experienced a turbulent phase involving dabbling in witchcraft and Satanism, influenced by the cultural environment of the 1980s. He recounted a vivid supernatural encounter that led him to completely turn away from those dark paths. His faith journey evolved over time, eventually becoming a committed Christ follower and musician within his church community, blending early life experiences with his adult identity. Payne's interest in psychology was partly shaped by the depression struggles of his parents, leading him to pursue studies in psychology alongside criminal justice in college. Initially interested in various fields, including business and computers, criminal justice captured his attention due to its interdisciplinary approach involving sociology, psychology, and forensic science. His practical law enforcement exposure began as a nightclub bouncer in Charleston, where he received informal training from police officers and first responders. A pivotal moment during a ride-along solidified his passion for policing, recognizing parallels between team sports camaraderie and law enforcement teamwork. Despite challenges including race-based hiring limitations in the early 1990s, he persisted until joining the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. From there, his path took him through narcotics investigations and vice work, eventually leading to his acceptance into the FBI. Payne's uniform patrol experience gave way to narcotics vice work, where he obtained state-level undercover certification and participated in drug buys. He reflected on the thrill of working dope, engaging in high-risk drug trafficking operations, and vice investigations, including prostitution rings. He shared stark realities about the types of individuals involved in these crimes, including politicians and community leaders, underscoring the complexity and reach of organized crime. While discussing murder-for-hire operations, Payne dispelled myths about the cost and sophistication of contract killings, revealing that many hits were arranged for surprisingly low sums, often in the low thousands. He stressed the cunning and often unsophisticated nature of criminals involved in these schemes. He highlighted the challenges in developing confidential sources, often using leverage from arrests or cultivating relationships, and teaching valuing reliability and mutual benefit in undercover work. Encouraged by mentors, Payne applied to the FBI, drawn by financial prospects and a broad scope of investigative opportunities. He described the intense selection process involving physical, mental, and polygraph testing, including candid admissions about past marijuana use and how these were handled during his evaluations. At Quantico, Payne experienced a grueling academy that mirrored his earlier police training, but on a federal scale, emphasizing physical endurance, discipline, and teamwork. Following graduation, he was assigned to the New York City field office, initially rotating through various squads before securing a position in drug enforcement, eventually transitioning into full-time undercover work. Payne reflected on the limitations posed by facial recognition, digital footprints, and the difficulty of maintaining covert identities in densely surveilled urban environments, which impacted the nature and duration of undercover assignments. One of the most gripping segments featured Payne's infiltration of notorious outlaw motorcycle clubs, particularly the Outlaws Motorcycle Club in Massachusetts. He detailed the painstaking process of building trust and crafting a believable legend, leveraging his real-life landscaping background and weaving a story involving stolen goods and international theft rings to gain acceptance. Payne recounted the dangers inherent in living undercover among hardened criminals who engaged in violence, drug trafficking, and other serious crimes. He described harrowing moments, including being strip-searched and searched for wires at gunpoint in the clubhouse basement, illustrating how close undercover agents come to losing their cover and risking their lives. The complex human emotions involved surfaced through his bond with certain members, notably Scott Payne, with whom he shared a close connection, rocking each other's babies and recognizing the thin line between his life and theirs. He also described observing violent clashes between rival motorcycle gangs, the tangled code of loyalty, and the intricate schemes these clubs used to mask criminal activity, such as wearing rival gang colors to misattribute crimes. Payne's work on the U.S.-Mexico border brought him into direct contact with drug cartels, human smugglers, and violent enforcement arms like the Gulf Cartel's paramilitary factions. He described the chaos, brutality, and sophisticated crime structures operating in the region, including kidnapping for ransom, extortion, and horrific torture methods carried out by cartel members. He shared specific cases such as hostages being rescued through delicate negotiations, interactions with liaison officers across the border, and his role in ongoing investigations targeting massive drug seizures and alien smuggling operations. Payne spoke openly about corruption issues affecting border law enforcement and the complexity of dismantling intertwined smuggling networks. The emotional toll of witnessing human trafficking victims, especially minors, being exploited and extorted, was a somber theme. Payne described cases where families were contacted with threats of violence to compel ransom payments and efforts by law enforcement to recover trafficked children. He also recounted the dangerous nature of undercover work in this environment, the risks of detection, and the precarious balancing act of maintaining cover while gathering crucial intelligence. In his latter career years, Payne focused on white supremacist accelerationist groups such as the Base and other neo-Nazi and National Socialist factions. He explained accelerationism as the belief in hastening societal collapse through acts of guerrilla warfare, sabotage, and terrorism to create a new ethno-state. He detailed the ideology, structure, and methods of these groups, including online recruitment strategies using encrypted apps, covert communication methods, and the training of members in firearms and paramilitary tactics. Payne gave chilling accounts of ritualistic behavior combining neo-Nazi beliefs with Viking paganism symbolism, human sacrifices, and satanic elements. The growing threat of these groups was illustrated through their planned attacks, targeted killings, and efforts to build compounds for long-term separatist goals. Payne also recounted disinformation challenges, infiltration and exposure by journalists, and the difficulties in countering online radicalization and encrypted communications. Throughout the discussion, Payne emphasized the immense mental strain and physical exhaustion inherent in long-term undercover assignments. He shared his own struggles with anxiety attacks, post-traumatic stress disorder, and burnout caused by continuous high-stress roles without adequate rest. He described undergoing assessments through the FBI's Safeguard program designed to monitor undercover agents' psychological health. His candid account of adrenaline dumps, panic in high-risk situations, and the challenge of managing identity and emotional detachment spoke to the hidden costs of such work. To aid recovery, Payne explored alternative therapies, including ketamine treatments and stem cell therapies, which he credits with helping him manage mental health challenges and physical pain. He advocated for destigmatizing mental health in first responder communities and highlighted the importance of accountability, peer support, and proactive counseling. Payne offered advice to families regarding vigilant monitoring of children's online activity, emphasizing the risks posed by gaming platforms and encrypted social media channels where predators and extremists operate. He championed tools designed to flag suspicious communications and protect youth from radicalization and exploitation. He discussed the evolving nature of threats, including the use of artificial intelligence to create disturbing child exploitation imagery, and outlined the challenges of prosecuting domestic terrorism in the absence of clear statutes, stressing the importance of interagency cooperation. Finally, recalling his extensive experience, he encouraged an optimistic outlook while recognizing the reality of ongoing hate and extremism, underscoring the need for continuous vigilance, education, and community engagement to combat these threats.